Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm really so honored to be here. Thank you for the very kind introduction, Marjorie. And it's good to be among friends. It's good to be among so many thoughtful people, so many warriors for the cause. And it's never been more important, as you all know, for us to stand for that cause. A great blessing to be with you. I looked forward to this event. The only thing I looked forward to today, okay? That's my job. No, I'm just kidding. It's a great joy. Thank you all for your prayers. We feel them every day. We're in a spiritual battle for the future of America. Everybody in this room knows that. That's right. And we don't shrink from that challenge. Nights like tonight are a welcome opportunity for all of us to renew our commitment to the cause of life. That's why you're here. That's why I'm here. It's an important moment in history, as Marjorie was saying. So we live in a time when truth is often blurred and when moral courage is in too short of a supply. We all know that. Scripture tells us in Isaiah 5, woe to those who call evil good and call good evil. And right now, too many in our culture are doing that. Too many so-called leaders around the country are doing that, and even here in Washington. They're calling evil good. Last month in Colorado, I know I missed it, but the choir tonight I'm told was an incredible blessing. And yeah, they were. And what a contrast, because I told Marjorie backstage, I said, what state are they from? She said, Colorado. I said, how interesting. Because Colorado's policy on the issue is not exactly where it needs to be. I'm not picking on that state. I just wanted to cite the Speaker of the House there. I was informed last month, you won't believe this. Well, you'll believe it. She was praising the, quote, fiscal virtues of what she says, quote, are averted births. Listen to this. As she sees it, states ought to promote abortion because, hey, that's great fiscal policy. She said, quote, a birth is more expensive than an abortion. Whoever thought we'd live in a world where you could put a dollar value on a human life and make it a political speech that people would applaud? But that's where we are. We sadly live in a society where that kind of twisted logic is accepted, and it is exactly the kind of radical rhetoric that we have to continue to call out and challenge at every turn. And when we do, we ought to remind them that it is not just morally wrong and barbaric, it is also clearly un-American. And what do we mean by that? Listen, history and truth are on our side. We know it. We're going to celebrate our 250th birthday as a nation in July of next year. That's right. This grand experiment in self-governance that we have been given to steward in these fateful days, it's without question the greatest nation in the history of the world. I mean, it is. A lot of university students will try to debate that with you right now, but they're clearly wrong. We are the most free, most successful, most powerful, most benevolent nation that has ever been on the face of the earth, and save for Israel, that is, right? And there's a reason for that. The great British statesman G.K. Chesterton famously said one time, America is the only nation in the world that is founded upon a creed. And when I speak to university students or college or high school students, I say, what is a creed? It's like a religious statement of faith. And the creed, G.K. Chesterton said, was listed, he said in his words, with almost theological lucidity or clarity in the Declaration of Independence, our nation's birth certificate. And we know the language well because we used to learn it in school. They don't teach it in many schools anymore. That's part of the problem. Don't get me started. But in the second paragraph of the Declaration, we know the language well. We hold these truths to be self-evident. And by the way, I'll stop to student groups and say, what is a self-evident truth? It's something you cannot not know. It's something that's obvious. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. And I'll stop and say, in public universities, I'll stop and say, you notice it doesn't say born equal. It says created equal. Okay? Yeah. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal. They are endowed by their Creator, God, with certain inalienable rights, that among these are the rights to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Now, listen, we know the language well. It rolls off our tongues. We don't think about how revolutionary that statement was, but my, was it revolutionary. We're the first nation in the history of the world founded upon such a creed. We eliminated the king, the middleman. We eliminated the sovereign on the earth because the founders are students of Scripture, and they understood that our rights do not derive from government. They come from God himself. And there are serious implications from that. That's right. See, there's a worldview, a foundation to this grand experiment in self-governance. Psalm 11:3 says that the foundations be destroyed, what would the righteous do? We have to preserve the foundations. That's what we're doing right here. That's what SBA Pro-Life America does. And all of the allied groups were working together to preserve the foundations so we can keep the greatest nation in the history of the world. Because there's real implications that come from that. Because the founders also, being students of Scripture, they knew that our rights come from God, not the government. They knew that the rights were inalienable. They could not be taken away by any state authority. And they also knew that we are made in the image of God. And there's a very serious set of implications that come from that. If we are made in God's image, it means every single person has inestimable dignity and value. And your value, I tell the students, is not related in any way to the color of your skin, what zip code you live in, or what your major is, or what your talents are. Irrelevant. Your value is inherent because it is given to you by your Creator and no one else. That's right. The competing ideology is based in Marxism. Marxism is the origin, of course, of communism and socialism and all the other isms that compete with eternal truth. It is a great evil because it begins with the premise that there is no God. And as I tell the students, you need to think through the implications of that one. Because if the Marxists are right, you don't have any inestimable dignity and value given to you by your Creator. In fact, it just kind of resorts to a survival of the fittest, right? And if you don't have rights that come from God and the state can give you your rights, the state can also take them away. And it will do that in short order. And it will lead you right back into bondage and tyranny. So what we're defending, what we're celebrating in July is this grand experiment, this gift from God to us of a nation that recognizes and lists first as our foundational truth the sanctity of human life. That's what we're defending. And that's why we do it boldly and proudly and without apology, because that is who we are as a nation. And that's what they're trying to undermine. We got to defend the foundations. So this is my story. Nobody knew who I was before I was Speaker of the House, and I don't know. Many of them don't know now, and that's fine. But I want you to know my origin story that's important because of how I came to this movement. I myself am a product of an unplanned pregnancy. In January 1972, almost exactly a year before Roe, I was born January 30th of 72, my parents, who were just teenagers at the time, chose life. And I'm so, yeah. I have always been eternally grateful that they did. And at that time in Northwest Louisiana, in the corner of the world that we lived in, abortion was available, and of course, many people tried to talk, you can take care of this problem. Well, my 17-year-old mother and father were raised sort of nominal Catholic, and they were like, wait, that's not right. I think God creates life. Thankfully, they remembered that part. But I'm just so profoundly grateful that they gave me the chance at life. And you have to wonder, and I do often, who was not given that opportunity? Who did we lose? Who have we lost? We could talk about that all night. The issue is very close to my heart. It's very close to the heart of my wife, Kelly. We celebrate our 26th wedding anniversary on May 1st, and I can't believe the woman has stayed with me this long. Some of you know her, and that's the very reason you like me, and I appreciate that. I'm married way out of my league, but this is something that's so near and dear to our hearts, and we've been engaged and involved in the pro-life movement our entire adult lives since we've been married and since we met, because we had this in common. Before I was elected to Congress, I was a constitutional law attorney, and I used to go into the courts and defend religious freedom and the sanctity of human life, our founding fundamental freedoms. I worked for groups like the Alliance Defending Freedom and other organizations, many of whom are in the room tonight. I'm grateful for that opportunity. Yeah. I did that. I dedicated my career to the cause because I wanted to do something that would really matter, and that's what SBA Pro-Life America does every single day. And I'm so honored and proud to stand in the trenches along with Marjorie and the whole team constantly as we defend these truths. Kelly and I worked in Louisiana Right to Life as a group we worked with a lot on the local, state level. We started the first March for Life in my part of the state and led that and had so much fun with it. My wife has been a tremendous advocate, leader in the cause in Louisiana for so many years. And, and, it, and it led up to the moment we are now, which is an unprecedented time. 20 years ago, 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 in our lifetimes, right? Supreme Court's finally settled once and for all the legal fiction that was Roe v. Wade. It seems almost surreal to stand here and speak on the other side of that monumental decision. But as Marjorie noted, and others have as well, our work has just begun. Because as the issue returns to the states, we know that we've got to restore a culture of life throughout the country, and we have not a moment to waste. The question is, how do we do it? So each of us, in whatever sphere and whatever platform God has given us, we're called to this responsibility. We're called to defend the foundations and to defend the nation's creed. In Congress right now, just a quick update, we're shifting part of our focus to life-affirming care. That's one of the things we can do. The theme tonight is right along those lines. We're developing policies and infrastructure and raising awareness to directly assist women and children. In the last Congress, House Republicans were a firewall to the radical policies of the Biden administration, and they were certainly radical. For example, we passed the Pregnant Students' Rights Act to ensure that pregnant women finishing their degrees weren't forced into the false choice between being a mom and being a student. When Joe Biden wanted to undercut funding for pregnancy resource centers, we fought that. We passed the Supporting Pregnant and Parenting Women and Families Act. As we all know, we rely on these centers to assist expecting moms and dads and their young families. Earlier this year, on the week of the March for Life, around the anniversary, the old anniversary of Roe, by the way, could we move that to the summer? Do we have to do it in the winter? I digress. It's tradition. Okay. Freezing out there, but anyway, for the cause. Earlier this year, we passed the Born Alive Survivors Act, and that's a really important piece of legislation because we know it's well, thanks. We know it's a matter of basic humanity to ensure a child who survives an abortion attempt is cared for as he or she is lying on the table there. But I want you to know, 210 House Democrats voted against that common sense, clearly morally correct legislation. They voted against, 210 of them voted against it in the 118th Congress, and you know what? In the new Congress, as we start in January, we gave them another opportunity, hoping that the election would, the results might make them reconsider their opposition to something so basic and humane. But I tell you what, we put it on the floor, we passed it with Republican votes again, of course. Only one House Democrat joined Republicans in voting for that bill. It is almost unbelievable the depths that they will go to defend the ground that they're on. Democrats have proven time and again that they will always put party above the country. I'm sad to say it, but it's true. We see it on vivid display, and even on simple matters of common sense and human dignity, they cannot bring themselves to do the right thing. In the weeks ahead, the House is going to be working on the One Big Beautiful Bill. Okay, that's what we're doing. Don't judge me if I have to name it that, okay, because that's what he wants to do. It's simple. Yes, sir, it is. One Big Beautiful Bill. It's going to deliver some of the most critical pieces of the America First agenda. This is what we promised the voters. This is what the president said, and it's promises made, promises kept. That is the theme of the administration, and we're absolutely making it clear to everybody that this bill is going to redirect funds away from big abortion and to federally qualified health centers, as has been discussed. That's right. I'm so grateful that SBA and the Charlotte Lozer Institute have been so instrumental in raising awareness about these important centers which provide comprehensive care for the vulnerable. And you know what? They outnumber big abortion providers 15-1. So that's something we can celebrate. Today marks the President Trump's first 100 days in office, and I'm supposed to be live on Hannity in 15 minutes to talk about that. Okay? Won't be any makeup tonight, just so that when you see the tape. We're going to run sirens to get there, and it's justified. Okay, in one of his first acts in office, President Trump freed and pardoned nearly 24 wrongfully imprisoned pro-life activists. That's right. Shortly after that, he signed an executive order to cement the pro-life Hyde protections, the Hyde Amendment, so that American taxpayers aren't compelled to pay for abortions that they don't support. And President Trump, that's right. And as you know, we've all celebrated on the frozen tundra, the March for Life, that he's the first and only president that has ever addressed the March for Life, and that's really something. We've seen under this new Trump administration, visible pro-life leadership matters. Elections do have consequences, and we're going to continue this great work. Looking ahead, I'm so proud that the over 2,700 pregnancy resource centers around the country are helping more and more women to choose life. It's a vital service, and that's right. I know many of them are represented tonight. We've got countless private organizations and charities and churches that have stepped up to support families and help us to restore a culture that protects unborn children. That includes many in this room, and we're so very grateful to all of you. SBA Pro-Life America has been an indispensable partner and one of the most effective grassroots organizations in the country in the pro-life movement, but I would say even beyond that, and I mean this sincerely, Marjorie knows, I talk about it all the time, one of the most effective organizations in our party, okay? Very, very, very important work in these election cycles because we're defending truth. It's not even about party, it's about principle. And I mean, look, I'd be a member of the Orange Kangaroo Party if they supported foundational truth and the sanctity of human life, right? But it falls to us now. We are in this part where I'm in the Republican Party. I suspect most of you are as well because our platform still defends our principles, our history, our heritage of our party defends the sanctity of life. It is our nation's creed. And we've got to say that with clarity, conviction, and consistency. I was touched to receive your words of encouragement earlier this year. Marjorie sent me a little video. The SBA's canvassers were working in Wisconsin on that fateful Supreme Court justice race. And didn't come out the way we wanted, but man, we left it all on the field. And John Quincy Adams reminded us, duty is ours, results are God's. We'll do our duty. We'll be faithful. And he's working. You're doing God's work, and it does not go unnoticed here in Washington. And with every mind you educate and every voter you mobilize, you're saving lives, and we wouldn't be here without you. As we look ahead, we need to do everything we can to ensure that the good work of President Trump and the Republicans in Congress continues marching on. But you don't have to be a political activist. You don't have to work in Congress, obviously, to restore a culture of life. This is a job for every single one of us. And that's right, we have a responsibility to do it. Each and every one of us, now is our time to speak with clarity, conviction, consistency, with compassion too. And people like Susan B. Anthony and Abraham Lincoln used their voices to defend others. Lincoln called on us to turn to the better angels of our nature. And that's exactly what we must do right now. Very practically, it's an important time to help moms facing unplanned pregnancies, to work with foster children and help families who are adopting, to volunteer and assist our vital pregnancy resource centers, and to reach out with compassion and speak the truth in love. It can make a difference. It does make a difference. We remind ourselves. Now, we're going to face fierce opposition when we do that. You know that. When I became speaker, it didn't take less than an hour. I mean, I was just lambasted. The liberal media just went after me for my faith, and they pulled up all my old pro-life speeches, and I was like, yep. And they said, what is the foundation of your belief? I said, I was on Hannity, ironically, the night that I was elected speaker, and I said, well, I don't know. I mean, I hadn't thought through a talking point. I just said, frankly, I mean, it's pretty simple to understand what I believe. It just go get the Bible dusted off on your shelf. That's what I believe. Y'all, I didn't know that was going to set off such a firestorm, but that's it really is that simple. And sadly, you know, my experience in taking the incoming is not unique, obviously. I'm sure we all can think of a time when we were dismissed or ridiculed or for something we believed in. But you know what? That Bible that I was talking about, it says, guess what? You get blessed for that, right? That's right. Don't worry about that. Look, some of y'all have noted I was 4 inches taller when I became Speaker of the House. That's okay. It's okay. There's a lot of eternal rewards for this, okay? 1 Peter 3:15 says, always be prepared to give an answer for the hope that you have. And we have hope because we know the answer. And the culture is dying, literally, for us to share the answer. And we can't be bashful about it. In the moments when our faith is tested, we have to be ready to give the answer, to explain why we're so convicted about this, why this is the right thing to speak the truth in love to others, even those who don't want to hear it. And we have to do that in a way that honors the King, the real King, the King of Kings that we serve. All of us can play a role in building a culture of life, all of us. And that's why you're here tonight. And I know if we commit ourselves, if we are the happy warriors, the ambassadors for the real King in our fight for the unborn, that we will change eventually. We will. We will change millions of hearts and minds and votes, and we will turn the culture around and create and build a true culture of life. May God continue to bless you in all that you do to honor and defend that critical principle that is listed with theological clarity in our nation's birth certificate. As we celebrate it next year and even tonight, I'm so grateful for SBA, Pro-Life America, all that you stand for Marjorie and her faithful friendship, and all of you. You have an open door to the Speaker's office, and if you haven't been there, the most epic photo op is on the balcony overlooking the National Mall. And since you're here in warm weather, please come and take advantage of that, all right? God bless you. Thanks so much for the time. Appreciate it.